whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for all things scary and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone. Jamie, blue
So many
kisses at
lenses.
you. You have so many lenses to show the people on the YouTubes. Why do you have so many? Are they just there at your desk?
Actually, this is
Oh,
totally unrelated to this, but a company had reached out to me to send me glasses for me to make content for them.
no
So,
It's
way!
a
so
dream.
it is sponsored.
Oh, so
What's the
so
name of the company?
They're called Fytoo.
oh, amazing! Can we see some for the
Yeah, this is
YouTubers?
this is this is a sneak peek, a first sneak peek,
Cute.
right? All right. We're
They
we're
are.
changing our lenses.
We're
Ooh.
changing our lenses. They are what, leopard print?
Yeah, like a tortoise
Oh,
shell.
shell. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And now
Mm-hmm.
Jamie is turtly enough for the Turtle Club.
Good job. Good job. Yes.
And then I have a second pair.
Ooh, I love those.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Mm-hmm.
that pattern?
I think this is like a lighter tortoise shell. They both like it's like the kind
Okay.
of splotchy
Mm-hmm.
coloring. So
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I got my glasses sponsorship. Guys,
Yes.
support
Fytoo.
me.
Support Jamie. Say it again,
Yes.
Brian.
Fytoo. I'll put a
Yes.
link in the description. Why not?
Because
Need to
why
show off
not?
the lenses.
That's what we
Oh,
do
there it
here.
is.
I'm
Talk
very
about horror
proud.
through the lens of human behavior. And with Jamie's exciting change of glasses and lenses, we also have to talk about the excitement of the 2025 Norwegian body horror film, The Ugly Stepsister.
Duha talan. Bodkastat talan. Jag vill inte ha dig. Din mamma har betalat mig, prawda? Musisz pracować ciężej. Arbeta hardere.
Yeah, my stomach hurts.
Do you hear that rumbling? I think I got bubble
Ugh.
guts.
Yeah.
My whole body is like slowly going numb, just rethinking about this movie. Okay,
Oh.
keep it together.
Keep it together, save it. We're going to talk all things The Ugly Stepsister. But first, this movie was written and directed by Emily Blichfeld in her directorial debut, which, my God, what a debut I
This
have to
is
say.
awesome.
Personally.
Like the we'll talk about that. Her
Yeah.
direction was like,
Hold on.
Yes.
Calm down.
Sorry, I'm such a piece of shit.
Bojack? Anyway.
Yeah.
So this movie stars Leah Mirren, Thea Sophie Lockness, Ann Dahl Torp, and Flo Fajirli. So heavy spoilers for this movie. You can watch it. It is streaming on Shudder right now. So if you have a subscription to Shudder, go and watch that. We're still talking about advertising. Shudder, come at us.
Hey, Shudder. Listen, I'm just gonna say Shudder, 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 so the AI in the world can pick up that we're talking about Shudder, and then when they're running their little tests,
Yes,
they can find us.
They can find us.
Ugh.
We will.
I don't
love
know
to
what I
sponsor.
think happens, but yeah,
Yeah,
Shudder.
I'm confused.
We cover a lot of your movies. People listen to us.
And people listen
That's
to
all I got.
us.
Also,
Check-
thanks
check-
for listening, everyone.
Gorgeous. And Jamie, laundry list of trigger warnings. Just, go forth.
Okay. Well, if you don't like fairy tales, this isn't for you. This is
Yeah.
loosely based on Cinderella. Actually, it's based on Aschenputtel by the Brothers Grimm.
Yes.
also known as Cinderella.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh yes, yes, yes.
oh yes, yes, yes. There is some sex in this film. There's some I know.
Jeez, a penis,
Um,
finally.
Yeah, we got some dong. I just want equal dong in films.
Same.
That's all I want.
mhm. There is death.
Ooh.
There is decay.
Yeah.
There are tapeworms. Blah, gross.
Fuck.
There are also silkworms, so lots of
Oh.
wormery.
Lots of wormery afoot. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
This is a
Vomit,
worm-forward film.
blood, vomiting eggs,
Oh,
chopping
God.
of toes,
Oh shit! I forgot about so
breaking
much
a
of this.
nose, chipping
Oh,
a tooth, falling down the stairs.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Moms being terrible,
Mhm.
stepmoms being terrible, forcing young women into servitude, terrible plastic surgeries,
Mhm.
eyeball sewing, nose chopping,
Mhm.
breaking,
Yeah. Parent death.
parent death. I started with death. That was
That's true.
early. That was early
Yeah.
in my list. Shitty princes,
Hmm.
bad poetry. And the poetry is fine.
Yeah.
Was that everything? Oof.
I think so.
Yeah.
I gotta switch my glasses.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
It's a lot. Yes. Okay. I think we'll get some stuff down the way, but it is a body horror film. So if you are
Yes.
not
Yes.
into body horror, then please
Not
stay
for you.
away. Even if you
Yeah.
like fairy tales and shitty princes, stay away from this. And I know we're excited to talk about it. So, producer Brian, can you please give us some words?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Hi, YouTube. Thank you so much to all the listeners out there. We really appreciate it. If you're enjoying this, definitely check out us on social media at Talk Horror Pod on Instagram and TikTok. Fun TikTok news. A video of ours that I put out maybe last February hit 1 million views this week.
Oh, amazing.
It was my review of There's Something Wrong with the Children. Got 1 million views. So, like,
I love that.
that's pretty fucking cool. So join the other people who are watching us. That was cool.
And
Yeah.
hit that follow button, please.
Hit that follow button. Pound that follow button.
Yes. What
That's
number
what
are
they
we
say.
at now on the
Uh,
TikToks?
Let me see. 18.3 maybe?
We're so close.
Are 18.3, yeah.
Yeah.
We're getting
Amazing.
closer.
Well, thank
Come
you for
on
all the
down.
time you take to put out all that content, producer Brian. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Sometimes it's
yes.
fun, sometimes it's stressful. What will the day hold? No one knows.
And it's always so random when it's the things that you've posted years ago that just up and
I have
fall into
no
the algorithm and people watch.
Yeah, like that one. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why it's that one. It's just
Right.
like small direct to video blum. The only thing I could think about is that, like, maybe my intro was good and people stayed hooked. Maybe it's just like a horror movie that, like, no one fucking heard of. So, like, oh, this one seems interesting. It's not like, I'm not talking about like Midsommar or Hereditary, you know, like the horror movies that people know. Like, maybe that's it. I don't know the answer to that, but maybe I'm just like so cute that people wanted to keep watching this cute face.
There you go. Exactly. That's fine. Whatever we need to do to draw the people,
I don't
we'll
care.
use you
Yeah.
as our
I'll chisel my nose.
Oh my, don't do that.
No, I like the schnoz.
Oh gosh. Great. Well, I watched something this week, but I want to ask, did y'all watch anything this week horror related?
No, we finished this season of The Amazing Race. Fantastic Amazing Race season.
Okay.
We
finished Andor.
Yeah.
And then we caught up with The Last of Us. I
Yeah.
think that's
Oh,
all the watching.
yeah. We also need to. We eventually need to schedule a season 2 Last of Us episode.
Oh, yes, we do. We do. I'm also behind on the last 2 episodes, so
Okay.
I need to watch.
What did you watch?
Final Destination Bloodlines, baby.
Oh, you went.
Ooh, I
It
went
made
to the
over $100 million.
movies.
It was.
I
It
saw.
was huge at the box
Wow.
office.
And we talked about when we covered Final Destination last week that the Rotten Tomato rankings of all of them, and this one now has the highest
Yeah.
Rotten Tomato score of all of them.
And
Oh, right. We finished the other one. Last we
Oh.
spoke, we didn't finish it yet.
We
There you
finished.
go.
Okay, so we
Tell me.
finished Final Destination 5,
Yes.
which we were not enjoying, and you said like it's good, or the internet told us it was good, and the internet is wrong. It's not good. Spoiler alerts for Final Destination 5. Not even that stupid chronology twist could like help the movie. Don't get me wrong, every single one of the Final Destination movies, I actually think the Final Destination franchise as a whole is actually very consistent and solid across the board,
Yeah.
depending on what you're going in for it, because in every single one the kills are like chef's kiss A+. They really are, except for the fucking gymnastics one. But 5 is crazy.
Wild.
What, Jamie, you didn't like 5?
No, I thought it was silly.
Yeah.
I thought like they presented another potentially interesting like idea in this one, but like I don't know, it didn't pay off for me, and I was over it.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. Literally, all that I said last week was that if it was a nice kind of tie back.
No, you said it was
to
the
be
best
fine.
movie
You
of
said it was
all
the best
time,
one.
and
I did not
that's what I
say that.
expected.
You said it was. You
That's
said
what
it
I
was your
expected.
favorite movie of ever.
Yeah, it's wild.
I can't believe it.
Obsessed. But I'm glad that you guys finished it, and of course, Final Destination Bloodlines ties in everything from before, because as the trailer kind of already reveals, it's
I
just
did not watch the trailer.
okay. Thank you. Then I won't say anything. I will say that this movie, I think, leans more into the humor of how absurd Final Destination can be with the kills and such. So I felt like it was a nice balance between laughing at itself, but also giving you what you came for, which is crazy ass kills. And
Did you like it?
I did. I had a great time watching it. I thought that it didn't take itself too seriously, even though it is trying to really kind of force all of the pieces together in a way. And I'm like, y'all don't have to work that hard to try to, we're just here to watch people die in crazy ass ways. Like, but they do try to link all of the chains, and there's so many different callbacks to other Final Destinations. So I think that it also is for the fans. So that's also nice to be like, oh, that's from number 2, or that's from the Final Destination, or that's from the first one. And so that was nice. And also to see Tony Todd in his last performance with Final Destination was also really nice and sweet. And apparently his last couple of lines were improvised, and it was him talking directly to his fans, which that was also very sweet. So if you get a chance to find that and see that, it was really awesome. But yeah, it was a fun time. I enjoyed all of the people in it, and I absolutely would say if you enjoy what Final Destination is, you're going to have a great time watching this movie.
Cool. That gets me very excited for it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just going to tilt your head like, really, that way? But okay. Like, I just laughed the entire time, but I feel like that's what I was supposed to do, right? Like,
yeah.
So it was good. I recommend it.
Cool.
I'm not going to say it's the best movie ever, but I recommend it.
Oh, wow. It's your favorite movie of all time? That's crazy.
Wow,
I can't wait to watch
best movie ever.
And
That's
I
so
saw Sinners
interesting.
3 times, and I'm like, Final Destination Bloodlines.
Yeah.
Gorgeous. Okay, so let's talk everything The Ugly Stepsister with our first section, trick or a treat, where we let you know right off the bat, was this a treat? We loved it, or we don't know how we feel about it.
Wait,
Or
do I have to
trick.
do a plot? Is that first?
Oh,
What do we do
it is
first? I don't
first.
remember.
No, you're right. I just skipped us. I just skipped.
I don't know
My
why
bad.
I did that because I don't want to do a plot summary, but I'll do it.
Now you
Please.
must.
What's the plot?
All right. 2 minutes on the clock. Are you ready
Okay.
to summarize this film?
No, but I'll go. I'll do it.
Great.
You got it.
Ready, steady, go.
Okay, Elvira and her sister, and their mother, we'll call her the evil stepmother, but she's fine right now. She married an older man basically to give them a better life, I guess. And the older man has a daughter, and the older man dies on their wedding night, and then we find out that the old man was penniless and was actually marrying her for her money. So now everyone's penniless. I mean, she has a little bit of money, but like nothing like she thought she was getting. Anyway, and she feels like the stepmother feels like she's too old to get married or whatnot. So she ends up trying to get her oldest daughter, Elvira, to get to marry the prince, who she's already obsessed with the prince anyway. And she's this very like poetry obsessed teen who already puts the prince on a pedestal. Anyway, she is put through gruesome, awful things to basically try and correct her body. I say that lightly. According to the stepmother, correct her body, like, or make her more conventionally attractive for the prince to go to the ball. All this is where all the body horror comes in. Also, there's emotional, like, just reckoning from the mother. Anyway, the other daughter, the stepdaughter, wants to go, who is Cinderella. And they rip her dress, and then she goes to the ball, and she ends up winning the prince. Not after she broke her nose, got it like a nose job, cut her toes off to fit into the slipper, took a tapeworm to try and lose weight, all of that. And at the end, Cinderella wins, I will say, and they escape. This two sisters then escape kind of away from this toxic lifestyle. The end.
Yeah.
And that's the plot.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great job. Okay.
Good job. Good job.
Oh, and she vomits up the tapeworm in the most horrifying scene I've ever seen in a film.
Ooh. Can't stop thinking about it. Love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So now, trick or a treat. Well, we'll let you know if it was a treat, we loved it, or we don't know how we feel about it, or a trick, we hated it.
Trick treat.
Producer Brian, trick or a treat.
Treat.
Jamie.
Treat.
And treat 3 for 3.
Yay, that means we don't have to do the episode.
And
thanks for listening. Okay. We have to talk about the tapeworm. Like, we have to talk about everything. It's such an incredible body horror film, and we talk a lot about, or I know Jamie and I have expressed a lot about how we are not fans of body horror films, but I will say, just right off the top, as we get into our first segment, likes and gripes.
And now our likes and gripes.
This was probably my favorite body horror film I've ever seen, besides The Substance, if we're calling that true body horror.
I would call that body horror. Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Then it's up there with The Substance.
No. Body yaddy yaddy horror.
Right, exactly. So would anybody like to start us off with their likes and gripes for this movie?
I'll go.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I liked this movie, even though body horror sometimes really grosses me out. This body horror really grossed me out. It was really hard to watch. I think Brian can attest to the fact that I was like hiding behind my hands for some parts that were pretty gruesome. Yeah. I mean, the nose one, like, I knew that was coming. the eyelashes was really gross.
Ooh, I
was
forgot about that.
I really had a hard time with that one.
Yeah.
And like, you know that the tapeworm scene is like going to be horrible, and then they just keep building to it and building to it, and like every time you heard her like
Mhm.
gurgling stomach, I like my whole body tensed up.
Hmm.
I was like, is she just gonna like die? Is she gonna explode? Like, what is gonna happen?
Actually, that would have
Um,
been wild. Also, listeners, Jamie definitely just texted me in all caps, the tapeworm after
Oh
it
yeah.
happened, after she
oh my
watched it.
God. It was like, it just fucking broke me. But like, man, this movie was so excellent. Like it does kind of feel like The Substance because of the way, like, this movie is decidedly not sexy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like very unsexy, even though like there is nudity and things like that. But like, I think just highlighting the atrocities that like people go through in order to attain this like conventional beauty, and like thinking about like reality, like our reality of like, again, anybody can do whatever they want to their
Right.
bodies, like as long as I hope that it comes from a place of like self-love, and like this is something that helps you feel good. But also like, it is pretty fucked up that there's an entire like industry around selling changing yourself because the way that you look isn't good enough. And
Right.
that is what we're getting here. But obviously much more gruesome. And something I really liked about this is that even though the story is like based on Cinderella, and so you know what you're going to expect in the storytelling, I still really liked this spin on it. It felt like, both beautiful, absolutely disgusting in parts, like really ethereal,
Mm.
um a little magical, and like deeply disturbing, all wrapped up into one. But like, despite it being, a classic fairy tale, like at no point was it boring. Um,
Mm-mm.
Right.
I was locked in the whole time. The pacing was really excellent. I like that you also like see the prince and see that he's like a piece of shit. Um,
Yes.
so I like that there's just like kind of little twists to this. I guess I don't really know if the original prince is a piece of shit. I don't remember that part. Um but yeah, and I also like that, it's not entirely clear. I mean, we can kind of assume that Elvira's mom probably, murdered that guy,
Oh,
murdered Agnes's
that, yeah.
father.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But like, they never say it outright, and they kind of never address it.
Yeah.
Uh, I kind of like that. I mean, also just like the mom like pimping out her own daughter, essentially, deeply
Mm-hmm.
disturbing, but also like a lot of this movie just feels very real.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which again, disturbing, but very, very on point. Um,
It's like a different version of Dance Moms.
Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It's upsetting because also like, closer to the end, the mom herself is kind of like trying to like doing a lot of things on her own, trying to like sleep with a young man so that she could potentially uh get rich again.
Yes.
But yeah, I think just like the mother-daughter relationship, also like kind of seeing how through all of this, that like the instead of women coming together, how it can really tear them apart. Oh, that wasn't a
Yeah.
that's not a thumbs up moment. But like the relationship between Elvira and Agnes like starts out, like really endearing, and like there's an opportunity there for them to become close. And then while Agnes is like mourning the loss of her father, it's clear that Elvira, is not particularly empathetic. But then kind of going through the finishing school process, growing increasingly jealous of Agnes and like how she's treated compared to her, and that starts to like you see the loathing in her eyes and like in her facial expressions whenever she looks at her. It's like with disgust. The she's using her to like also to clean her and bathe her and like clean up after her and all of this stuff. Also, her eating spaghetti in the tub
bathtub?
is fucking diabolically horrifying. That was so gross. I also again was like, worms, girl, like get out of here.
You've never
No
had
more.
tub spaghetti?
Also on a separate note, I forgot that we were eating gummy worms while we were watching this, and then I was like, oh, that was a bad idea.
Yeah, like halfway
No.
through we looked down and we're like, what, sweet Jesus, what have we done?
Right. Oh, that's not fun.
Yeah, this movie was truly excellent. I had a great time. And then the ending, like I can't describe, but like there are certain things that really make me deeply uncomfortable. As a person who's like always anxious, like I know what I feel in my body most of the time, but like there are some things that really gross me out in a way that like I feel like it starts where my hands start to go really tingly and then I like feel it in the core of my body. Thinking about the tapeworm scene is making me physically feel these things again. I can't describe to you the physical effect of how that scene impacted me, but even just the thought of it makes my body go tingly and numb again.
Yeah.
So
because she had it in for so long, which also just makes sense. I know we don't want to harp on it, and I don't want to harp
but
on
also
what
like
you're saying.
the worm like coming out of her mouth in the beginning and then like all of the chunks of it. God.
Yeah, and just to jump off of that, the practical effects in this movie are outstanding.
Yeah, and I was reading earlier that I think that the director was inspired partially by Raw. So I'm really glad that we just watched that. You should listen to that episode. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. Like what a great kind of like precursor to this more body horror.
Yeah, because I think also it says that she kind of fell in love with Cronenberg, like in general, and that was her introduction into horror and why she wanted to even start like making horror movies. Because I think she mentioned at first she wasn't a fan of it, and then she didn't really watch movies a lot when she was younger, anyway. But yeah,
and then I think also like it's a lot of this is reflected in her own struggles with like body image and wanting the audience to like have more empathy for the discomfort around beauty standards and like what people go through to achieve beauty.
Yeah, and
success.
Oh gosh, so much success. And just going back to how long that tapeworm was in her, because when we get the invitation right from the prince, and it says like in 4 full moons, which we also love a timeline, right?
Yeah, give me those 4 full moons, baby.
And then I'm like, well, how often do full moons happen? It's like every 20 something days. So basically that thing was in it for 4 months. And so then it makes sense that it's so extreme when she has to release it out of her body. But even before that, the eggs at the
when the eggs come out, and she's like, I'm dying. Right. It's like, girl, I think you might actually be.
Yeah.
Hair's coming out, like but I'll just go ahead and piggyback because I agree with everything you said, Jamie. I think it's excellent. It's an excellent movie.
Full body chills.
It's point across. I know. But I think I'm just so impressed, like Brian mentioned, with the effects of it all, that kind of takes me away from how disturbing it is, which that's probably disturbing in itself. But I'm just so impressed about how well they
Yeah.
pulled all that off. And I also feel like this is a testament to female directors talking about female issues and
100%.
yeah,
Mhm.
how much it can come through and land because it is coming from a woman and also her own personal experiences.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it feels so much more A, lived in, but B,
Mhm.
it really felt like something that I liked about this movie a lot is that like it felt thoroughly explored. I feel like a lot of other directors would introduce these themes and these concepts and half explore it because they
Yeah,
don't understand it. So like
Mm.
exactly.
as a man watching this movie, knowing it was directed by a woman, I felt like it was being explored, and I was like through the horror learning things, if that makes sense. And like
Absolutely.
it was making me literally cringe and feel these awful things because it's body horror, but like me being able to like internalize that and apply it to social beauty standards and how you feel if you're not up to those and how unrealistic they are and all that, like
Mhm.
I thought was really well executed.
And also to tag along to that, you really see the points, the detailed points of when Elvira actually really kind of breaks and is like,
Mm.
I have to, this is what I have to do. I have to be this way. And if that means that I am cutting off my limbs to get what I want, because I feel like as much as she wanted it at the beginning of the movie, I don't think it would have resulted in her immediately being like, yes, I'll chop off my own foot.
Yeah, that's
But
an excellent point. Like I
yeah.
feel like they justified the self-mutilation
Hmm.
like really. Like I believe she would do that in a second after watching her
Yep.
go through this hour and a half.
Absolutely. And I think that's just a testament to the detailing of it and the fact that all these characters are not perfect. Like nobody is perfect in this movie. I think everyone is
Yeah.
very well rounded in how they act, in how they see each other, how they see themselves. And so it does all feel believable in that sense because we're not just looking at black and white of like Cinderella's going to be good and good all the time and the ugly stepsister is going to be awful and awful all the time. It
Mm-hmm.
seems like, you know, you can see all points of views and it brings in a nice gray area for everyone in the story. The costumes gorgeous. I'm sure they probably filmed on location, so that was really cool having that beautiful castle up against all of the craziness that was happening with all the body horror. So it was a nice balance of what you see behind closed doors and what is only presented in front of you, especially in that ballroom scene when Elvira like throws up uh you know, in another room, but then her mother's like, get your shit together. And they go
Yeah.
back and she's like back perfect. And we see all the beautiful gowns and, you know, gorgeous gowns, beautiful gowns. And we're seeing everyone dancing and being happy. So I just thought that was a really fun play off of each other. I watched this for a second time because I watched it for the first time last week before we decided to do this. And in watching it the second time, it was nice seeing a lot of foreshadowing of like
Mm.
worms and maggots and how much they
Mhm.
play a part, even to the point of like you mentioned, Jamie, the worms putting the Cinderella's dress back together, Agnes's dress together,
Mhm.
which I thought was genius and hilarious at the
Mhm.
same time, just
Mhm.
over her
Because
dad's
I mean, it
corpse.
follows the story, and like, but
Yeah.
it's still different because it's like, okay, well, silkworms are not maggots, and would they
Yeah. Yeah.
find
Yeah.
their way to a corpse? But also, I'm not going to look that up because I don't want to
Because I don't want to know. It just looks like a disgusting worm to me, and it's putting the dress together. I get it. Fine. Yes.
know.
um,
Mm-mm.
but yeah, there's just all in the beginning. There's and then the really awesome scene in the ballroom where the worms are randomly just coming out of people's mouths, like Elvira's kind of like imagining all of that as she's
Mhm.
dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie is so.
I'm like
Oh.
trying so hard not to cringe. I think that's what I feel in my body is like physical cringing from thinking about all of these things.
Yes. Well, when you were talking about just how like your body feels with anxiety. Like every time her
Mhm.
stomach rumbles and like you know that something is going to happen. That's how I feel with anxiety in general. Like
Oh
TMI is
yeah.
TMI, but like anxiety poops when you're just like so anxious and you're like, I got to find a bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Like
Mhm.
that's what it related to me. Every time she had that moment of her stomach rumbling, I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing, the worst feeling.
Yep.
Um, just a couple more things. I loved the score and how sometimes it felt like 80s synth vibes.
We
Yes.
talked a lot about that after we watched the
Mhm.
movie. It had that like It Follows vibe where you don't know actually when it takes place.
Yes.
Um, there was another one that Jamie said that she was dead on. I can't remember now. But it had that vibe too.
Yeah. If you
Um,
remember it, say.
yeah, it'll probably
Yeah.
come to me when we're thinking
Yeah.
through this. But
Who
you
knows what I
suggested,
said?
yeah, it
Yes.
was great. Um,
But
but yeah,
I think it went well with how campy some of the stuff is, like balancing the humor with the theme of it all. But
Mhm.
also there's an interview with the director and she said that, you know, she's a 70s girl and so
Mm.
you know, that kind of music was her music and she said that
mm-hmm.
she was definitely influenced now going back and watching movies with 70s horror. So and you can kind of see that too with how she directs with kind of like the zoom in zoom out like
Yeah,
uh filming of certain things. So I thought that was really cool. um when they were talking about how Elvira was a bigger girl, it just reminded me of, remember when Jessica Simpson, there was like this whole debacle of like her in this like mom jean and a belt, and listeners, if you know what I'm talking about, you know, but it was a whole thing. And there's a picture taken of Jessica Simpson, and everyone was saying how she gained so much weight, but she was like a size
Oh yeah.
8.
Mhm.
And when Elvira takes off all of her clothes before she like ingests the worm, and they're just commenting on her body being like bigger, I'm just like, this girl is so tiny. But it speaks to the standard. Like
mm-hmm.
you want to be a certain way or feel like you have to fit a certain mold, and you can't see what's actually right in front of you, and that like you are fine exactly how you are, you know, no matter what size you are. But that just made me think of that. We already talked about penis. Yay. Always a fan when that's in the horror movies.
We're big
More
Dong fans here.
penis.
Yeah, we're big Dong fans here. The acting all around is amazing, especially the physical acting from Elvira.
Yes,
Gorgeous. Um, and yeah, everything else is gnarly. Of course, all of the actual body horror things. The first time watching it was really wild. And Alma, the sister, just kind of looking and being like, what the fuck is happening while all this is going on. But yeah, it was a great movie all around. I would recommend this to anyone. It's just so on the nose. Oh, and then the kind of best of showing of the women when they come into the ballroom, and the moms are kind of like holding an imaginary leash and they're
Yeah.
oh
prancing
yeah,
around.
I forgot about that. Yeah, fucking crazy.
Literally, it's just like, give me your paw.
It's weird.
It's
This
weird.
shit is so weird, but it's on the nose of just being a display. Like, you
Yeah,
Mhm.
know, am I gonna get
feels like
picked?
a dog show.
It does. It feels like a
Yeah.
Yeah.
dog show.
Ugh.
But that's my last thought on that. Producer Brian.
Yeah, I didn't write anything down. I just really enjoyed this movie, watching it all the way through. I
Mm.
completely agree with both of you on all of your points. The direction is incredible, the cinematography, the pacing, the acting, what it's trying to say, how it says it, like how it uses body horror to say it. We talked about all that stuff. I just like agree. This is definitely, I've thought about it a lot over the past couple days since we watched it, and like I think this is one of my I agree with you, Nikisha. I think this is one of the best body horror movies I've ever seen. Like
Hmm.
outside of what Substance, um, there's a couple more that we've watched here,
Like
but like
Teton is really good too. But
yeah, like and her new movie
mhm.
comes out this year. I think there was a
Oh,
trailer
nice.
for it today. Anyway, so all of that stuff I totally agree with. Um, I also so I had not watched a trailer for this movie.
Mm.
My expectation for this movie is that it was going to be like a schlocky Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey type movie. Like, but like it was getting like good campy reviews. Like that's what I was expecting because of all these like remakes and all of these like taking IPs and like turning them on their head. Like that whole trend. I just thought this was gonna be like a stupid schlocky one that like people have been really enjoying. I also thought it was gonna be in English. So when we turned it
Same.
on and it was in Norwegian and it was like not this like over the top campy thing. My expect it was a nice way to go into the movie because my expectations were completely shattered
Mm.
because they were so off. Um
Yeah, you like I think you paused and you were like, this is not what I thought this was
yeah,
going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be.
That's
as I'm
awesome.
shoving my face full of gummy worms, I'm like, this is not what I thought. Yeah, I just think that I think this is an incredible movie
Yeah.
and definitely one of my favorites of this year so far.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one gripe, and I think this is not fair, but I have one gripe.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not fair.
You're right. I don't think I loved the Cinderella magic stuff
Okay.
because this was. I felt like the movie did that because the movie had to.
Mm.
The stepsister wasn't watching. Like I just felt like it was we all of a sudden followed Cinderella for 5 minutes and then broke away from it. Like it just felt in shoehorned in. Like I didn't need to know that happened to her because like how unfair does all that bullshit feel to the stepsister when she doesn't even know about the magic? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I didn't like love all of that, but I enjoyed it in the moment because like I love the story and like all that. But I don't know if I loved it as a part of this narrative and this movie. It had very end of in a violent nature vibe. So like wait, why are we leaving the main character? Like it
Mm.
felt like it felt a little bit like that, but I don't think it was cheating as much as those movies cheated, like that and
Yeah.
Late Night with the Devil. Um, but that was off to me. It felt like it was put in because we have to do the Cinderella side of it. When like
Okay.
I was perfectly happy with because even at the end we don't see her and the prince like her trying on the shoe
Right.
and we just see Elvira's version of it where it's like she fucking got her like she fucking got him like that's bullshit like
Mm-hmm.
and then she falls on the stairs and all that stuff like I don't know that's my one gripe about the movie that like I really didn't need that because we all know I kind of just wanted her reaction without knowing that like her act I did like that it was her mother who came to her, not her like fairy godmother. It was like her
Yeah.
like I liked that about it. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe not fair, but kind of narratively, I thought it would be more interesting without it. But like it is what it is. Did not ruin the movie, nor did it bring down its score for me. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But that just if I'm gonna have one gripe about it, it's that because that's the thing that stood out the most for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
I can understand that mostly because it's such a well-known story that there's no need for us to see that section. So I can understand where you're coming from.
Honestly, I would have more appreciated it if she looked out the window and she saw her talking to nothing. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, something like that. I think my gripe was that it wasn't from the stepsister's point of view,
Yeah.
like the entire movie is. It was that was the only moment in the movie from the another perspective that felt weird. That
Mm.
I think that's where I stand on that one.
Okay. Yeah. Also, here's a question for y'all. Do you think that Elvira always kind of had that jealousy, competitive energy within her, or was it just brought out because of the circumstances, like with her mom and seeing Agnes get all of this attention? Just a question.
Um
I don't know, because like I feel like the circumstances are so like there was just so much pressure
Yeah.
on her to like save the family by like figuring out a way to get money again that like
Hmm.
if that context wasn't there would that have bothered her? Or even like, you know, she was so like infatuated with the prince that if the
Right.
prince, if these other things were kind of out of it and the prince just like found himself interested, like I don't know.
Mm. What do you think, Brian?
Um, I don't know. I'm probably I think that people do have some sort of competitive nature in them. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it like was fully formed by the mother. I mean, it may have been because maybe the mother was always competitive. So like,
Oh yeah.
you know, that case like, but I think because she wanted this thing, she wanted the prince before any of this.
Right.
Like it's not like you can marry the prince wasn't an idea in her head. It may not have been as realistic, but it was still something I think that feeds it too. But I
Mm-hmm.
also agree with Jamie that like the given circumstances and the dire urgency and the stakes of having to save the family added to something that you already kind of secretly want and it's becoming sort of a reality would I would understand why you can get competitive about that. Or but I can also understand how you may be you may be wary about it in general when
Mm-hmm.
you're starting it, but then you hit a certain point where like your nose has been fixed and
Right.
your nose has been altered, I should say.
Yeah.
And like you know like and then you like with I think the tapeworms to me was like like then you go to the finishing school and then the tapeworm like kind of really felt like the turning point where she's just gonna lean into it because you're saying
Yeah.
there's a chance. You know what I mean? Like that type of a thing.
They're saying there's a chance at it, so let me just dive feet
All
first.
in. When I have nothing else to lose because this is all so fucking terrible.
Except for my toes, and then that's
Yeah,
fine.
and then like, and then I think, like we said, I think this movie does a good job of getting. I feel like as a director, you and writer, you have
Mhm.
to get us to that moment and make it believable. Like that's the whole point of the movie, to get to that moment and make us feel like of course, that's what she did.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree with what you guys are saying as well. Cool.
I also, one other thing that we didn't really
Mhm.
talk about is like, I really like that the sister is horrified that all of this is happening, her younger
Yeah,
Mhm.
sister.
Mhm.
And like she doesn't have her period at the beginning of the movie, like she hasn't hit puberty yet. They make a comment about it. And
Yeah.
then, sorry, someone outside is also really interested in our film. Um, and then in the middle of the movie she ends up getting her period and she runs into Elvira in the hallway and is but Elvira had just gotten the eye procedure done so she can't see her, and it does seem like
Mhm.
she's trying to like hide this information, because it does not seem like she wants to, you know, be forced into participating in all
uh
of this
huh.
stuff either. And like,
Right.
you know, I don't know if they're necessarily trying to say that she's like tomboyish based on how she dresses and like the things that she's doing, but it kind of feels like she's younger and is just not as enraptured by this, like, you know, beauty, finishing, like marrying, any of that stuff that her older sister is involved with. And
Mhm.
I also like that, you know, in the traditional Cinderella stories, like both of the stepsisters are pretty shitty,
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
that this is a marked difference of like just being horrified by what her sister's doing and not wanting her sister to eat the tapeworm, begging her sister to take the antidote, and being
Mhm.
horrified when her mom decides to like continue chopping off her toes. Like she's just not into any of this at all. And despite all of that, despite her sister going through all of it, is still there for her and is finally like,
Right.
we gotta go. And like that they both get to leave together. I really liked that part of it all, that like despite there being this animosity between women, there is still this like coming together at the end.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that makes me a little hopeful despite all the terrible everything
Right.
else.
Nothing
Also,
like
like,
sisterly love. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is like Frozen, but very different.
But very
Um,
different.
no, something that to jump off of what Jamie said, also, it helps to not normalize that behavior. If the other
Mm.
stepsister was also doing these things, then who is there in the movie to be the contrast?
Ground
To be like,
us. Who's there to ground us, essentially?
Mhm.
yeah, uh huh.
Yeah.
in like this is fucked up, as opposed to
Mhm.
being like, no, this is what people did at this point in time.
Right. Agree. Which again just makes it well rounded, all, as opposed to just
Well rounded, nice and grounded.
nice and grounded. Yes. Great. All right. Shall we move on to our next segment?
Yes, I hope to see some Ugly Stepsister Halloween costumes this year.
Oh yeah.
Oh, snap.
Hmm
That,
The
yeah.
little nose thing.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Which,
Hmm
I mean, it was pretty cute. Not gonna lie.
hmm
It was a cool design.
It was.
It
Like
was.
the costuming props people, great job.
Mm-hmm. Props to props. Yes.
Props to props.
Props to props. All right, let's get into our next segment. Brains.
Tasty, tasty.
Tasty, tasty. Gorgeous. So, of course, this movie just talks about how people who are quote unquote conventionally attractive are treated better in society. And it plays a part in how we see ourselves and our self esteem and all that stuff. So, my question to you is how can we combat that internal conflict that we might be having of how we see ourselves versus how the world sees and treats us, especially when what we're seeing is evidence of conventionally attractive people, pretty privilege, if you will, being treated better.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like acknowledging that as part of our reality
Mm,
is like it's hard to ignore when you are seeing people benefiting from it. Um, I think at the same time, like, our relationship with ourselves is also really important. And so, regardless of how other people outside of us perceive us, I think, figuring out how we can appreciate and love ourselves, for everything that we have, our beauty, our flaws, like everything.
mm-hmm.
Um, I think I think that's a big part of it is like working to build ourselves up, build up our self-esteem, increase our self-confidence. And also like a lot of that is done through self-compassion, just like learning to love and appreciate ourselves
Yeah.
regardless of any of these things. So and it's a reminder that like we have no control over other people, right? Like we can't control how
Yes.
other people perceive us. And so like we're the ones living with ourselves forever. I think it really matters how we are perceiving ourselves. So how can we like shift focus and attention away from other people that we can't control anyway and shift it towards ourselves and focus on like how do we want to feel? How do we want to feel about ourselves day in and day out?
Yeah. I think that's excellent. It really is just like taking time to really think about like you said, you're living with yourself. How do you feel about yourself? And like fuck the rest of the people, excuse my language, but yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm
Like really
Excused.
just learning to love yourself. What'd you say, Brian?
hmm
I said
He
excused.
excused you.
Excused. Yes. Great. My next question is just about like we've talked about this a little bit, just the heavy pressures that can be put on us, whether it's, with in Elvira's case, the pressure to not only look a certain way, but also to kind of be the financial like savior within the family. So my first question is, where do you think we learn how to deal with pressures and expectations at a young age? Like, is it from our family or friends? Because I kind of liken it to when we talk about fight, flight, or freeze and how we can't really plan for that. It just happens and then we just react, however we react. Is that kind of the same for how we deal with any kind of like pressure at a young age?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like you're asking where does it come from, not like
Yes.
how we actually deal with it, because that's hard. But I think that it comes from
Either one, whichever one's easier.
I mean, I definitely think it comes from like family and our upbringing that like there are, things that we learn, rules and ideologies and things that we learn from like our family unit. I also think a lot of expectations come from school
Mm,
and like, the lessons that we're learning, not just like actual education academics, but also like other rules and conventions that we are learning as a result of just attending school. Like one of them that I always talk about, especially like when it comes to perfectionism, is
Mm,
you learn that like if you try hard, you will succeed. If you work your hardest, you'll get the A. And so it's like, what happens if that doesn't happen?
yep.
What messages are we then taking away? Oh, I must not have tried my hardest. And like, how does that then start to, create a potentially really harmful message?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's like a lot of different places that we like, I think we learn messages from the cultures and identities that we hold. So yeah, there's a lot of different things that we like societally,
Hmm.
gender roles, all of that. Uh, Micro to macro, there's so many different levels of like the messages that we are taking on that I think add to the pressure of like, what are we supposed to do? Who are we supposed to be? How are we supposed to act? Et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Yeah. And then, I guess going back to now the how of it all, in
We're
relation
screwed.
to say we're screwed.
Yes. I mean, the how is really hard because like
Yeah.
I think there's a lot like I think it's maybe buzzworthy to say like you have to unlearn a lot of things, but I do think
Mm,
that's true that there's so many of these messages that are deeply ingrained over time, and then we have to figure out ways to like disentangle them from us when they don't necessarily serve us, or like when certain expectations don't match up with reality and it's like causing way more harm than good. So like paying attention to like when are the pressures that we're feeling like coming from within our own heads?
yes.
Like were they always living in our own heads, or perhaps they were coming from a different voice, that like over time, now it's in our own voice. Like if you're able to identify where specific things, if it's like, oh, I hear my mom in my head saying like, make responsible choices, or like I hear my dad in my head saying like, don't spend too much money, and
Mm-hmm.
like now I have financial anxiety. So like figuring out where those messages are
Mm-hmm.
coming from so that you're better able to identify like, is this a message that I want to continue to uphold? Does this message serve me? Is it hurting me? Is there a different message that I would like prefer to kind of reinforce in my own head that I feel like is more in line with my values and the goals that I have for myself?
Right. No, I love that, and it's so funny to talk about because you say that and talk about those things specifically, because I totally understand from the parental standpoint of the messages that you hear from them, and then thinking like, is that something that I want to keep, or something that is not serving me, or is it just creating more anxiety? Like, is this why the anxiety is coming up? Is it because of
Hmm.
messaging that came from
Yeah. And like
parents, whoever?
society
Yeah.
is telling me I'm supposed to be like getting ready to buy a house or should have already bought a house, but like
Yep.
I'm just trying to pay my rent.
You know what I
Like,
mean?
all
Mm-hmm.
these messages, and I do think a lot of it is like, I think, again, there are messages that we learn that I think can be helpful. I think there's other messages that also fuel a lot of comparison to others,
Yes.
which, you're also seeing this in this movie. When we're holding ourselves to, what we're seeing from other people. And I think this movie is a really good example because, like, clearly Agnes does not have like everything perfect and easy. Like her father
Hmm.
died. Her father has not even been buried yet. Her lover is sent away by her stepmother. She's forced to marry someone that she like doesn't give a shit about in order to just have money again so she can like take care of at least putting her father in a proper grave. So like
Right.
her life isn't all like sunshine and rainbows, but all Elvira can see is just like, oh, she's beautiful. And so like everything is coming easily to her.
Mm.
So I think that a lot of times comparison, we're only we're comparing our whole selves to the only external parts that we can perceive from other people.
Mm-hmm.
I use like the iceberg metaphor a lot for this, where it's like there's so much under the surface that we don't have access to when we are perceiving someone else and comparing ourselves to them. We don't know what like trials and tribulations other people have gone through. We don't know like what internal struggles somebody that we are perceiving as like so jovial and like perfect on the inside, they might really be struggling. And so we can't even get like a full true comparison because we're only getting a piece of that person and comparing
Yes.
ourselves to that piece, and it's not fair to them, nor is it fair to us. And so I think that's like a really important piece too, of like when we're feeling these pressures, is it because we're trying to like hold ourselves to the standard of what we think somebody else is, and is that fair to them or to us to hold ourselves to them? Like we're missing so much information that we can't really even do like a proper true comparison, and so it's only just going to
Absolutely.
make us feel worse because it's just like, you know, what we're able to see, and there's so much more than that.
Right. Yeah, I love that because I think that's a perspective that a lot of people don't think about is compare,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, comparing your 100% self to just like this 10% that you find that you don't have from this other
Hmm.
person. And you're like, I want that 10%. And I'm
Hmm.
putting that up against, my whole being. So that's
Yeah.
that's a great way to put that. Um, gosh, there was something that I was gonna add and ask, but I forgot. But that was a great answer. Thank you for that. Great answer. Great answer.
Great
Thank you.
answer.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, that's all I have for that because that was great. Cool. Should we rotten tomato this?
Let's do exactly that.
Yes.
It's the Rotten Tomatoes game.
All right. What do you think this has on Rotten Tomatoes? Jamie, why don't you go first?
I'm gonna say 89.
All right, Nikisha.
I forgot that I accidentally saw the score today.
Oh, okay. So this has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Woo!
And an
Wow, that's so
80,
high.
it's so high. And an 86% like user score. Taking a hammer and chisel to a quintessential fairy tale, the Ugly Stepsisters' masterful application of gore and subversion are the stuff that nightmares are made of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's move on to Letterboxd. What do you think this has on Letterboxd? As a reminder, it's 0 to 5 with decimal points. So, Nikisha, you can go first here.
I want to say 4.0.
All right, Jamie.
I'm gonna say 4.3.
So it has a 3.7.
Oh, interesting, people. What's going on?
I don't know, but here are the most popular reviews. At number 3, by someone named Dan, The Substance, but make it Bridgerton.
I mean, yeah. I
Not
agree.
wrong.
Yeah.
At number 2, in all caps, cock and film representation.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
And at number 1, we have Why'd They Call Me a Slut at the End?
I'm dead. That's yes. I thought about that too. I'm like, sloot? That means the end?
Sloot.
Okay.
Sloot?
Sloot?
Sloot.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And cool. Those were those two. Should we do the 4 S's?
Yes.
Yes.
Skull, scare, shakes, and suggestions. The Talking Horrors 4 S's.
The 4 S's are skulls, scares, shakes, and suggestions. Skulls is how well this handles mental health and human behavior. Scares is how scary was it, and then shakes, can you shake it off? And then suggestions we'll do in a little bit. Jamie, why don't you start us off with your numbers?
Sure. For Skullingtons, I gave this a 7. For scares, I gave this I think maybe it should be higher because I'm having a full body reaction. I think I think I'm just gonna jump right up to an 8 because my
Aw.
Oh.
body hurts right now physically. For shakes, I'm giving this a 9. I can't stop thinking about this fucking tapeworm.
Yeah.
It's infiltrated.
Oh, no, not
Yeah.
infiltrated.
Yeah, ugh, gross.
Ooh.
Yeah, 7, 8,
Nice.
9.
Nikisha.
I'm gonna put 8 for skulls, and I'm gonna put 6 for scares. Even though it was crazy, I was still just kind of laughing, which that might be a therapy session in itself. And I'm also gonna do this a 9 for shakes because I fucking loved it. I loved it enough to like literally just watch it again,
Yeah.
so we can do this podcast.
I gave it a 7 for skulls. I gave it a 7 for scares, and I gave it an 8 for shakes.
Nice.
My suggestion is there's a Finnish movie that we've talked about called Hatching. So if you wanted some more kind of like weird existential, some body horror stuff from the within that region, if you will, definitely check Hatching out.
Yeah, we've already said mine, The Substance, but we talked about Raw too because that was like inspiration. So that for me.
Jamie?
I said Starry Eyes.
Yeah, that's great.
Love that movie.
I always forget about that
Praise
movie, and it was so
Bruce.
good.
Yeah.
I was also trying to think of are there any fairy tale horror movies that I liked, or any kind of like IP horror thing that was good? Can y'all think of any?
I mean, Midsommar is a fairy tale in some ways.
Isn't there like a Brothers Grimm movie
Maybe.
made by what's his face?
Matt Damon.
Not made by Matt Damon. What?
Yeah.
The Long Legs director?
Oh, Oz Perkins.
Movie.
Oh yeah, he did Gretel and Hansel.
Oh yeah, I think I watched that randomly one night, and that was Wild and Crazy Kids. Also, was it the 2011 Red Riding Hood, or am I making that up? Maybe not.
There is something.
Nope.
There was a Red Riding Hood like horror movie. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'll accept Hansel and Gretel because that shit was insane. Cool. Well, that wraps up our episode of The Ugly Stepsister. You can follow us on the socials, Instagram, TikTok, at Talk Horror Pod. And producer Brian, where can they listen to us?
You can listen to us wherever you get podcasts. So that could be YouTube. Hi, YouTube. That could be Spotify. Hello, Spotify. And of course, that could be Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know. I was trying to break my nose.
Yeah. What does the dance teacher say? Like, you're not worth it, or you're a waste?
Oh, a waste of talent.
A waste of talent. Yes.
Yeah.
Oof, that was rough.
How sad. Also, we didn't talk about how that they were a couple. The teachers at the finishing school.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which I thought that was interesting. I was like, can we explore that? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.